another episode of the Good Intentions Podcast. It's your girl, Queen Cass.
And it's your girl, Giddy Love. And remember, if this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Good Intentions Podcast, and also on IG at Good Intentions Pod.
Yes, sir. And we have a lovely guest with us today. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Jessica, but everyone calls me Jess. I'm also known as Jess on IG, and I'm happy to be here.
She's so cute.
Welcome.
All right, so today we're talking about colorism, and we brought Jess in because she is of a fairer tone, and we would love to talk about her experience, especially being Haitian, what it looked like in our culture, and how it looks like in the world. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit, Jess, about growing up as a Haitian, being light-skinned.
Well, first and foremost, I guess growing up, I never, acknowledged that I was a different skin tone. I knew I was, but I never knew that there was like differences, whether I'm light skinned or someone's darker skinned, especially because in my household, we're all different shades. Mm. My mom was lighter and my father was more on the chocolate side, and both my siblings favored my dad. So I never looked at it like, okay, I'm different because I'm lighter than them. I just felt like, hey, we're just all the same, just different shades. So it wasn't until actually growing up and going back and forth between Haiti and America is where I actually noticed the difference. Because as soon as you step off the plane in Haiti, being a fairer toned skinned, especially woman, you immediately get stared at. You get looked at like you're a unicorn. They immediately know you're not from here, and they're already speculating that you have to be mixed, or there's someone that caused you to be that light skin. Mm-hmm. So growing up, it didn't bother me as much because, again, I was around different shades because my family's very diverse in the colors. It's until I would say probably college where I can finally understand that there are differences between being a lighter toned individual versus a darker individual. I would say the first incident that I had or experienced in college was someone who didn't know me at the time said that I looked very stuck up. And I asked, what do you mean? Like, why? How can I look stuck up? If you know me, I'm like probably one of the nicest people you can meet. And the first response was, well, I mean, you're light skinned. You're light skinned, you wear glasses, like the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you speak. It's, very light skinned. And I was just very confused. I didn't let it bother me too much because how I grew up in my household was that my skin tone was acceptable. I didn't feel that I was any better or lower than anyone else. Then further down the line in my undergraduate years, I've started getting more and more comments of, oh, you only got, this special treatment because you're light skinned. Or, oh, this guy likes you because you're light skinned. Or my favorite is, oh, you're very pretty for a Haitian girl. I don't know if you'd be as pretty if you were dark skinned. And this person who actually said this to me was actually one of my friends. And at that time, it didn't bother me until I got home. And I was like, wow. She really said to my face that, Jess, I don't think I'd find you as pretty if you were dark skinned. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, like, is that really a thing? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean if I was dark skinned, I wouldn't be as pretty? I'm only pretty because I'm light skinned. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started to actually be more aware of my surrounding and more aware of how other people started to, view different shades or treat people differently based off of the shade of their skin. And because of that, I kind of took it upon myself to kind of make more of like a stance when people do make light skin jokes. Mm-hmm. I'll be more vocal about it and like, hey, that's not okay. Do you understand, the joke behind what you're saying or like the comments that you're making about oh, light-skinned people this or dark-skinned people that. And, you know, I just try to get people to understand there's more to it than just like, oh, it's just a joke. But, you know, I'll get more into it like later. But those are my experiences so far.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your experience in China and how that was.
Ooh, China.
Good old China.
Good old China. I will say overall, I've grown so much from my experience in China. Just going there, getting on the plane by myself, going to a foreign country without learning the language, knowing anything about the country, and just fending for myself, definitely showed me who I am as an individual. Who I thought I was is not who I ended up becoming. Mainly because China wasn't as advertised, I would say. It is a beautiful country, don't get me wrong. It is like a great place to visit, and I would recommend anyone to go there. However, it's not how it's advertised. You know, there is a little fine print. But being able to live there and truly actually immerse myself in their culture, I learned a lot of things that people don't talk about. For example, since we're on the topic of colorism, racism, and just overall discrimination is such a big thing over there. The only difference between there and America is that they're more quiet about their issues, whereas America, we're more vocal with our racism and discrimination. Over there, it's very silent and subtle. You just have to pick up on things. So my very first experience in China was when I was moving, or when I was trying to find an apartment. And I had all my luggages. I had probably like 3 big suitcases, a few boxes, and I needed to get a taxi. Over there, they call them DDs. So it's like a Uber, Chinese Uber. I was having a hard time. Luckily, by the grace of God, I found this woman that did speak English. And she was so like Christian and so nice and so loving. And she was just like, oh, let me help you. Don't worry. It's like she could tell on my face that I was like, help me. So she was able to help get me a car. The first car that pulled up literally took one look at me, pulled his window down and asked if he was picking me up. And literally did one of these, put his window up and drove off. And I was so confused. The woman that was next to me was also confused. She was a Caucasian woman. But I'm sure she knew what he meant by his gestures. But me being new, I didn't understand. You know, I'm just like, okay, what do you mean? So we called another guy. Second DD driver came, and this time he didn't even bother like speaking to us. He just looked. I went to open the door, and he just waved and then like drove off. As my hand is literally on the door's already open, and he just no. Wow. So at this point, I'm already kind of a little frantic and upset. And again, shout out to God, because I feel like he was truly on my side this day. A Chinese woman came up, and I guess she saw that I was having trouble. So she came up and she's like, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? And she hailed a taxi for me, which was just a regular taxi coming down the street. And she spoke to him in Chinese or Mandarin and gave him my address to my apartment, and he was able to take me to my destination. So luckily I had her there to help me. But it's until I got in the car and I sat there and I was just like, I've never had that happen to me before.
What was that?
You're trying to process
and
everything.
I didn't understand. And then I got to my room or to my apartment, and I literally broke down. And I was so upset, and I was just like devastated. And then it's until after I went to work and I was discussing my experience, and a fellow coworker was very blunt and honest with me. And she was just like, well, you know, some people are just not up to speed with people that look like you. Those are her exact words.
Now, was she black or was she Asian?
She was Chinese.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, haven't you noticed people staring at you? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, certain people that live here aren't used to people that look like you. And that was her nice way of basically saying they're not used to black people. Because
in 2020.
I have other foreign coworkers that were white, but I was the only black girl in my office. So that was when I realized, I was like, okay, I'm in a different area. And then because of that conversation, I became more aware. Now people started taking pictures of me. People are recording me. People, if I'm walking down the street, will purposely walk the other way to avoid me.
Wow.
And as you can see, I'm kind of fair-skinned.
That's what I was going to say.
And I kind of look like them on a good day.
That's what I was going to say.
If you look at my eyes, like I kind of look like them.
Yeah.
But to them, no. I was disgusting. I've been told that I was ugly, that I was fat, and that I was just unattractive to them. And
they told you this to your face?
Maybe not in English, but, they said it.
I would have been fighting these Chinese people. That's coronavirus.
It was a really rough experience. I've had people smell me. Like, it's just listen. I've gone through it. I've gone through it, yes. On the subway, like I said, people will purposely sit in another, or will walk away and stand in another corner just to get away from me. Or they will just stare directly at you, and you guys will just go in an eye match and just look at each other.
That is crazy.
Yes. So the first month was very difficult. It was a rude awakening and just made me more aware, like, wow, I've never experienced this. We experience a little bit of discrimination here in America, but like you said earlier, being light-skinned, I'm more, I guess, comfortable to be around. Over there, I truly experienced the other side of the spectrum. Like, I was disgusting to them. I was dirty to them. And it was a rough experience. So that's why I tell people it's not as advertised. But it's not to talk bad about, the country, because I would still go back and visit. But as far as, my experiences, it definitely shaped me to be who I am today, because it made me more aware and it made me more proud to be black, because it was to the point where I'm like, you guys are going to have to live with me, because I live here now. I'm a resident. I'm not just a, visitor. Like, I live here. And once you start actually speaking their language and talking back to them, they're like, oh. Like, they get uncomfortable because they weren't expecting that. So I had to really learn how to get out of my own head and literally just stand proud in my skin color and like, well, I'm here to stay, whether you like it or not. And it just made me more aware, just aware of everything.
That's really difficult.
Crazy. And when we talk about we're all the same to the other people, that's what we mean. That no matter how fair, how light skinned, how pretty you think you are, when you go to a different country where that's not the norm, they don't give you're black.
You are all the same. Even if, and there's some darker skinned Chinese people, actually. There's some darker than me.
They probably treated you worse than the fairer skin.
Absolutely.
It goes right back to relinquishing that power.
It was
exactly.
their time to finally be on top. I'm not the odd one. Look, this...
So colorism is definitely not a black people issue. It's a nationwide thing, because to us, just like you said, to them, we all look alike. We're all the same. Whether we're light-skinned, dark-skinned, we're all black. To us, when I went over there, I will say they all look the same to me as well. But until I finally started living there and being more aware that, okay, they actually do look different, and they all have different differences. And then I realized that they have colorism within themselves, because this group is saying, well, I'm Mongolian, or I can speak Mandarin and you speak Chinese, or my eyes are more slanted than yours, or I have more higher cheekbones, or I'm lighter skin. And they they really do put an emphasis on their differences. Whereas to us, to our naked eye, we're like, you guys look the same. What are you talking about? But no, to them, oh no.
That just shows you how good the Europeans did it.
Yep.
Like, they did a really good job.
They did a number.
And I was about to
They
say,
did a really good job.
They did a number, definitely.
It's human nature to like categorize ourselves, to one up them. Okay, I'm this, but at least I'm not that. There's always that shit. It could be worse.
Exactly. So whereas we feel like we're minorities, because they feel like they're the minority of the minorities of the minorities, they have to fight harder to defend their culture. So it was interesting to learn their side of the spectrum and understand their culture and be like, oh, this is how you guys think.
I'm sorry you had to experience that, friend.
It was rough. I cried for a whole month straight, like, take me home.
I'm sure.
That's depressing. Plus,
Yeah.
you were by yourself.
Right. So one place where colorism is very, very apparent is in the media.
Instagram,
videos, music videos, movies, and even the partners that these celebrities choose to date. And sometimes, I don't know if it was a call sheet for a movie. I forgot which movie. The movie with Ice Cube's son.
Straight out of Compton.
I mean, just kidding.
Yeah. They had a call sheet of different type of girls that they were looking for. And it was like, girl 1 is light skinned. She's perfect. She's exotic. That's one thing they love.
The word exotic.
Exotic.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could burn that word.
We don't have time for this.
No, we don't.
We don't have time. We don't have time.
Lord.
But that the media also shapes our reality, because that's what we consume a lot of. So our beauty standard, our norm is like, okay, a perfect person is light skinned, green eyes, this, that, and the third. Lord.
I think, like, you being the fairer skin, like, do you ever have guys tell you, I only date light-skinned women? Like,
oh, yeah,
how
definitely.
do you take that?
And how do you take,
I find offense to it because, again, like, I have a very diverse shade of family. Right. So when someone says that, especially the comment where you're light-skinned for a Haitian, I love that comment. How'd you get so light-skinned? I get offended by that, because for you to say, oh, I only date light-skinned women, why? What is it about being light-skinned makes it better? And then their response is always, oh, well, I want to have pretty babies. Who's to say you can't have a pretty baby with a chocolate woman? Like, I don't understand. Like, I hate that. Grinds my gears, because I'm not considered exotic. Besides my skin tone, I don't have light eyes. I have nappy hair. Sorry for people who don't like the term nappy, but I have coarse hair. Like, I'm thick. I'm not skinny. Like, I have black features. I have a wide nose. Like, you know, besides me being light skinned, come on. I just hate the term of, oh, I just want to have pretty babies.
Thank you so much, Jess, for coming. I love the different perspective that you brought. And once again, how you mentioned your challenges, too. I had seen this one tweet. It was like, you know, you can't say colorism isn't real if you're not light-skinned type thing. And the juxtaposition of colorism and racism is so clear. It's so apparent. It's literally the same thing.
It
just
is.
in different settings. So
it's the systematic racism that's causing us to have colorism. That's why I'm like, be the change you want to be. Like, just do it, because our Caucasian fellow counterparts want us to have discord within ourselves, and we can't do it.
Wow, thank you so much. So, guys, thank y'all so much for listening. Don't forget to follow me at QueenCast_X3 and the podcast page on IG at Good Intentions Pod.
And me at GettyLoveJ1.
And me at Just.
And don't forget to watch us on YouTube at the Good Intentions Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to leave your comments, what y'all want to talk about, questions down below. Thank you guys. Bye.
Toodles.